Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome back to another edition of E-Heroes for those keeping count. This is episode 288, getting very close to that 300 mark. For all the entrepreneurs out there who are struggling, who need a little bit of self-empowerment, maybe you're worried about your health or you're facing an illness. You need to transform your life. I brought on expert Christopher VanBerg, and we're going to share some stuff with you that hopefully will blow your mind. So thanks for being here, Christopher.
Thanks for having me.
I was watching one of your videos and you were talking about some type of chip. And I just was kind of trying to figure out what this chip is all about. What does it do?
I was talking about a chip.
Like a holographic, hollow something.
I had to go back and figure out what video that was. I don't actually know. Um, I have done, I've been in technology my whole life, and I love how technology and health also integrates together. And
Sure.
and one of the things that I just have always been passionate about is just self-improvement, self-growth. Uh,
Mm,
And I think, I'm also an entrepreneur by nature. And I just find that if you just like, it doesn't matter what aspect of your life you're working on improving, there's always something that you can just do better. And so like, don't wait for New Year's. Don't wait for these life-changing moments. Just figure out a way to make a habit out of the good things that you want to improve in your life.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know how holographic chip
Yeah,
technology.
I don't know. Maybe it was just a video that I saw and then I put you to and
Yeah.
yeah, and the thing is, that happens, and I think sometimes we as entrepreneurs, we look at something and we think, wow, and then we associate it with somebody else.
Yeah.
We make mistakes.
Yeah.
But we do that. We do that too with our health.
Yeah.
We pick these vitamins and these minerals that our friends are taking. We think this is going to be great, and it doesn't work for us. And then we get discouraged.
Yeah, everybody has a different biome, right? We're all human beings. We're all different human beings. And what is a good diet for somebody else is not necessarily a good diet for you. And so, diets need to be prescriptive, just like medications are prescriptive. You should do certain things that are good for you and what you're going through and what your condition is. I mean, we've all had different upbringings. We all had different diets growing up. We all had different activities. We had different toxins that were in our environment. We're all going through different things with our emotions. And what we're trying to do from our improving our health is different. There's statistically things that are true about diets, but then there's also things that are true with what you specifically are going through that are true. And I mean, I can give you some examples. Like one of the things taking off right now is a carnivore diet.
Hmm.
I find that so many people have exposed themselves to so many herbicides and pesticides and things from plants, flour products, GMOs, whatever, that they find when they move to an all meat diet, a lot of their symptoms go away because they're avoiding the foods that are causing them problems and they feel a lot better. Statistically speaking, though, that is not a good diet long term for
Right.
cancer and in health um, and heart disease. But it might be good for you in that moment, right? Like maybe you have an autoimmune disease, maybe your immune system spiking, and so maybe that is prescriptively a good for you diet for right now. Maybe not long term, but for right now. And it's the same thing with could be with vegan diets or smoothie diets or anti-inflammatory diets or diets that are helping you keeping your immune system or lower or your insulin, right? That pre-diabetes is such a huge thing that's rampant in our society. And so there's prescriptive diets for almost any type of symptom you're dealing
Yeah,
with.
my oldest daughter was diabetic for 20 years, and I say was because she was diagnosed at 10, and for 20 years she was diabetic, and around what 32 mark, she got a double organ transplant, new pancreas, new kidney, and so she's no longer diabetic. She
Yeah,
got
and well, I mean, type one, that's uh, that's the hardest one to deal with because
yeah.
you're born with it. I mean, but when we talk about diabetes, most people are self-inflicted wounds, type two.
Mhm.
Um, and it is reversible up into a point, right? I
Yeah.
mean, once it goes to what they call type 3, where your pancreas just stops producing insulin altogether, kind of like what type 1 happens,
Mhm.
and your insulin resistance, then you're in a lot of trouble. But a lot of type 2 is reversible
Right.
with, once again, correct your
Well,
diet.
and the thing is some of the prescription drugs that we take today that are that prescribed can trigger that diabetes.
Yeah.
My daughter was on Ritalin when she was young, when she was 8 or 9 years old, and every kid that was in her diabetes class when they she was first diagnosed had all been on Ritalin prior.
Yeah.
You know,
We
so
are we are an
there are
over-medicated
things that trigger.
society. Yeah. Yeah, we're an over-medicated society, and I think like I was there's a lot of people that speak on specifically ADD, and there are so many distractions in their environment, and so a lot of these kids, they've just gotten rid of all the technology. They removed all the technology from their lives, and then their schools, their grades, their attention all came back, right? Instead of medicating them, they changed their lifestyle, and
Right.
that is possible. I can't say for everybody that works, and some people maybe need to be medicated, but there is no doubt. And if you look at statistically speaking, the U.S. consumes about 5 times more pharmaceuticals than any other country in the nation, in the world.
Yeah,
And so, like, that's a lot of pharmaceuticals that we consume. So basically, instead of trying to treat the root cause of what the symptoms, that where you're getting your symptoms from, where we just say, take this drug.
yeah,
And some people, maybe they want that, right? Like if you're dealing with prediabetes or diabetic, maybe you don't want to change your diet. Maybe you just want to keep eating pizza and garbage. And so you want a pill that will help you, allow you to keep you do that. That is quite possible. But there are a lot of people that want to get better, and the doctors aren't giving them any advice on how to get better. They're just giving them the medication.
right. And I know for us entrepreneurs, it's sometimes it's very hard to eat right because we're so busy, we're so focused, we just, we're grabbing whatever's convenient at the time. And I have this love for pizza. I love pizza, but I also know that all that gluten's not good for me.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, I'd say this couple of things I want to touch on just in that one statement. One, most people don't have a gluten allergy; they have a wheat allergy.
yeah.
Okay, and most people also that have a wheat allergy, if you eat something like Italian non-GMO flour, you don't have a wheat allergy, right? Because we have GMO ready um, herbicide basically that goes and it gets ingrained into the wheat, right? We've made crops that can absorb the herbicide and it not kill them, and then we eat it.
Mhm.
And so American flour is very, very toxic for
Yeah,
most
because
people.
when I go to Italy or when I go to France, I can eat their pasta all day
It
long.
doesn't bother you. Yeah, it's quite possible. Yeah, I mean, most European countries have made it illegal, right? So, or at least labeled. So anyway, it is just the American farming system that makes it there. Now, and in regards to being an entrepreneur, the thing is to be a good entrepreneur, you have to think clearly, you have to be energetic, you have to be constant. I mean, I've worked many 100-hour work weeks, right? Like grinding, especially when you're doing wearing all the hats and you're trying to do all the things and you're hustling and you're, what they lifting yourself up by your own bootstraps, right? It's tough, but I promise you, the only way to do that really effectively is making sure that you have your priorities in line, that you're also taking care of your health. I'm a spiritual person. I talk about priorities a lot, which is like God is number one in my life, my family is number two in my life, my health is number three, and my business is number four. So even though my business is super, super important to me, I need to make sure that I prioritize my health, because if I'm not healthy, how effective an entrepreneur you're going to be? If you
Right.
get sick, if you get ill, if you get injured, if you're just low energy, if you're pounding caffeine all the time just to stay awake, right? How effective are you actually going to be versus being healthy? So if you focus on your health, it helps you better be
Mhm.
a better entrepreneur.
Yeah, I guess it was 2017. I took the whole year and refrained from drinking anything with caffeine in it, or even eating anything with caffeine in it. And it's very hard because you go to a restaurant and everything that they offer you has caffeine in it.
Mhm.
Soda, coffee, and tea, and it's like, okay, just water. Oh, we don't have that. So it's like they don't want you to be healthy.
Yeah, most people, we're a very caffeinated society, and I think most people get adrenal fatigue and they don't even know they have adrenal fatigue, which is why they can drink lots of coffee and it doesn't really, or coffee or or energy drinks or whatever, it doesn't really have the same effect it used to because your adrenal glands that produce your energy there are fatigued and they're weak and they don't have a lot in them. Almost everybody should take about 3 weeks off. Right,
Yeah.
take 3 weeks off. If you get headaches, you had a
Oh,
problem. Right, you have a headaches for like 2 or 3 days. But what happens is your adrenal glands rest, and then caffeine all of a sudden works again, and you don't need near as much of it for it to get that same kind of stimulating effect. So
yeah, I
take
mean,
weeks
it
off,
took me,
let your body rest.
I think it took 3 weeks for my body to get used to not having caffeine, and the headaches the first couple weeks were intense.
Yeah,
Because
that's a
your
caffeine
body's got to go
addiction.
through
Your
withdrawal.
body dependency. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And the thing is, you're coupling that caffeine with sugar.
Yep.
So, you're really harming your body. Over the last, I posted a picture the other day. Before I wrote my first book, I was in Arizona and I was a little heavier. And, since I had COVID a couple years ago, I've lost 43 pounds. I feel healthier. I feel, I have more energy. I just don't have as much energy as I used to because I'm getting older. But I realize I need to start working out more. I have a gym in my garage I never use. Might as well use it.
Yeah. Yeah. I have spent many lifetimes in a gym. In fact, I was a gym owner. One of my first entrepreneurial things I ever did was a corporate wellness company. And then, we were coaching and then people wanted to work out with us. And so we opened up a fitness facility. It sort of took us away from our main goal. I mean, it's very easy to do that when you're an entrepreneurial and some of your customers are making a request of you. And so you pivot your business a little bit, but then it took us away from what we really wanted to do, unfortunately. And then we were busy running a gym versus being the coaches that we wanted to be. Um, but uh, but in that practice, I find that it's easy to get distracted. But what I was doing is you get so many coaching clients that it helped me evolve as a coach, even though it wasn't the business practice that I wanted to do. Because like I was in that world, I was very much a fitness expert. I was very much a nutrition expert, but I realized that you can prescribe to somebody exactly what they should do, right? From working out, from eating healthy, and emotionally is why they don't do it.
Hmm.
Right. And then they talked to me about their problems with their relationships. They were talking about problems with their jobs. They were talking about the stress and anxiety in their lives. And I realized I had to evolve as a coach. I had to learn emotional counseling, health counseling, spiritual counseling, because to really make progress in my clients, I had to help them overcome in emotional intelligence way the blockers that were keeping them from being successful. Because I could write a perfect diet and I could write a perfect plan, but they couldn't do it because of other things in their lives getting away and distractions or whatever. I had to figure out how to help them where they were versus just telling them what to do, because telling them what to do wasn't always enough.
Yeah,
And and so you have to evolve. And understand what the root issue of your is like your distraction of not going to the gym every day has nothing to do with you access, right? It's right there in your garage, but
mhm,
you haven't gone
right.
because you haven't made that commitment to it and put the emotional understanding of maybe short-term sacrifice for the long-term gain, or you're not sure why you're doing it, right? Like, understanding the value of it. And so I make my personal practice is to do something every day, because like I might not go to the gym every day, but I can take my dogs on a really long walk. I can just do some push-ups, stretching, sit-ups, foam rolling, etc. at home, right? I can go play a sport, local pickleball or volleyball or whatever. You can do something every day that's active to keep your body motivated and energized without having to be a workout.
Yeah. Yeah, back in 2016, 2017, I was helping a weight loss doctor in Mexico. And he's a gastric sleeve doctor, so he removes half your stomach so that you can lose weight. And some of these patients that would come through here, through his clinic, were losing lots of weight. But the problem is that psychologically, they still wanted the food.
Yep.
And within a few years, most of these people who had lost the weight
Came back.
were gaining it back again.
Yep.
And they can't go back and have more stomach removed because
Yep.
it's they
It's
won't have
already,
liver
yeah,
to go.
they stretched it out and did it already. You have to change your lifestyle, right? A surgery and a pill, it never gets you there.
No,
Never
it's
gets you there.
it's a short term goal, and maybe it works for you, maybe it doesn't. But for entrepreneurs, it's a very I think it's a springboard. Sometimes we look at things and we go, oh yeah, 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 I want to improve my health. And then everything else happens. You're putting out fires, you're doing this, you're doing it, you get distracted, and you're thinking, well, I just don't have time. And then you keep saying that.
Yep.
And next thing you know, you're sitting in front
Well,
of a computer for 8 hours and not getting any exercise.
getting T-cross syndrome for your shoulders all rolled forward, typing on a keyboard all the time, and your neck issues and your lower back issues because you're sitting in chairs all the time. Yeah, it's not good for you to sit in front of a computer. It's not good for your eyes. It's not good for your health. Um, I find that uh, when once you've defined your priorities, like what are the most important things for you to do, because it's hard to set goals even without knowing your priorities. You set
Right.
your priorities and then you set goals for those priorities. Once again, for me, God, family, health, and business in that order. And then I set goals associated with the priorities. You know, the the workout that I'm going to do and the eating healthy. Sometimes that needs to be scheduled in my day, just like any other meeting or event in that day. Because if I don't schedule it, my day will get filled up with all kinds of other things,
Hmm.
right? Like there's you might look at your schedule and say, "Oh, I got a few gaps." Well, fill that gap or plan that every day at this time I'm going to go and do XYZ for my health and block that part of your calendar because you will fill it with something else, right?
Hmm.
You'll fill it with something less meaningful, less purposeful, less useful in your life. Absolutely. If you don't make it a priority and schedule it, just like you schedule everything else.
Yeah.
Um, hopefully you don't have to schedule your own meals, but some people have to do that too because they get so distracted, you know?
Yeah, I learned a long time ago that I'm more productive in the morning. So I schedule my 4 hours in the morning and I only work about 4 or 5 hours a day anymore. It just after so many hours you get less, you know, powerful in what you're doing. So I concentrate everything in those 4 hours. I hyper focus, get it done, and then I go out and enjoy time with the family or grandkids or whatever. And I get more thinking done playing with the grandkids than I do anyway with trying to just stare in front of a computer.
Yeah. I solve problems in my sleep all the time. I wake up with a solution and I'm like, wow, that was good.
Yeah, but I forget to write them down. But yeah, I know caffeine for me now. It's I can drink it right before I go to bed, and it's like fall right to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's adrenal fatigue. Give yourself a break from it again, I think.
But yeah, there's times where I realize that I need more sleep because I looked at my phone the other day. It has that health thing, and it says I'm averaging 4.5 hours of sleep a night.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that doesn't seem right, but I think it's probably the REM sleep I'm not getting.
Mm.
You know,
There can be all kinds of reasons for it. Sleep is the most rejuvenative, healing part of your day, and so yes, it's definitely necessary. Um, so many people have sleep issues, and for so many different reasons. I mean, I know it doesn't matter if you have a weight issue or not. You could have a breathing issue, right? You could have deviated septums. You could have sleep apnea. There's people that have enlarged prostates, men especially, right, where we have to urinate and we wake up frequently because we have to urinate. There's postural deviation issues. So you have neck, spine, lower back things that are causing you pain that when you're rolling, you're not sleeping well and you keep waking up. Um, and I think the best way is it's like just like anything else in your life, if it's an area you need to improve, you need to try to figure out what the things are that are keeping you from getting restful sleep and figure out what they are. A good diet and a healthy workout, though, are a better way to get, like, a lot of people just don't get sleep because of that, because they didn't burn off a proper amount of energy.
yeah,
And so they don't get restful sleep because their body's not physically tired
yeah,
from doing enough workout. And then sometimes they're not eating well. So once again, caffeine and stimulants and things in their body that are still keeping them from getting restful sleep. And then the one of the most prescriptive things for both weight loss and good sleep is well hydrated, right? Drinking plenty of water, which a lot of
Yeah,
people don't
it's
do.
I've been drinking a lot of water lately and milk too. I didn't used to like milk. Milk used to just rip my insides apart. But and I know a lot of people have an intolerance to milk. But
Yeah,
lately I've been
it's
gulping it down by the gallons and I'm like, what is wrong with me?
you might be there could be a vitamin deficiency that you're craving that you get out of milk. Like could be vitamin D, could be calcium. Like most of those things are added to milk. So there's other ways to get them, of course. But yeah,
Yeah.
if you're craving it, it's generally
And my wife goes,
also
"What are you
like
doing? You
most
ate
food.
milk."
Most people don't know this, but most of your food cravings aren't from your body. They're actually from your gut biome. You
Mhm.
have you actually have more cells in your body that are bacteria cells than you have human cells in your whole body. So you might have trillions of human cells, but you probably have 5 or 6 trillion bacteria cells that live in your gut, usually about 4 pounds or so of bacteria.
Mhm.
And they're much smaller than human cells, which is why they're so more plentiful of them. And you actually have neurons. You have about 100 million neurons that live in your gut lining. Okay. And what happens is you're picking up the neurological signals from the bacteria that has the craving. Okay.
Mhm.
So they're telling you what they want to eat, not what your body needs. So, what I would possibly recommend for you is a fast. A lot of the bad bacteria does not live very long. And so if you can do a 36 hour or something, maybe a little longer if you feel like you can do it, or you sometimes you got to work your way up to it, little intermittent fasting, maybe 16 hours for a couple of days in a row, and then work your way up to a 24 or something. I like a 36-hour window, which basically means I eat dinner, I wake up, I try to do activity during that whole day, just drink water, as much water as I can. I might have a little caffeine or something, but I'm no calories.
Mhm.
Go through the whole day, wake up the next day, try to do a workout, and then I eat my breakfast. So it's a 36-hour day with 2 workouts in between, 36-hour fast. And all my, like, whenever I come back from vacation specifically, that's when I do it because I've been eating pizza and
Mhm.
garbage. And I get really bad cravings from my bacteria. Like I want sugar every day after I come back from vacation, unless I do that 36-hour fast. And then most of that bad bacteria dies off and my
Mhm.
good bacteria comes back very easily. And so those food cravings disappear. And so anyway, if you're craving something like milk, which isn't generally good for you, it is sugar loaded, it's got a lot of garbage in it, it's got, the pasteurization is what causes most of the intolerance for humans.
Mhm.
And you're craving it. And
Mhm.
maybe you're craving it because you've got bad bacteria. They're feeding off the sugars in it. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's probably delicious. I haven't had regular milk in a while. Um, I do, I mean, like I have, I discovered in my health journey about 20 years ago that I have an intolerance to the number one and number two, dairy and wheat. There
Mhm.
are other things I have intolerances to, but those are the number one and number two. So whenever somebody has allergy issues, autoimmune issues, skin issues like hives, eczema,
Mhm.
uh, these are all immune or autoimmune diseases. These are all symptoms of your immune system being hyperactive and most likely because of the things that you're eating.
Mhm.
Uh, Everybody should get a food allergy panel if you've never had one, right? You can get an IgG, you can get an ALCAT, IGF. There are a couple of different types of food allergy panels you should get. But what happens is once you avoid the things that you're intolerant to in your diet, your outside health, your physical health, your skin, everything looks better, feels better, your energy goes through the roof because you stop eating things your body doesn't want.
Yeah. Yeah. And instead of, the food allergy panel at least will tell you what you're allergic to instead of you eating that
Yes.
and going to take an allergy pill.
Yep. Yeah,
But
I live in Texas. Seasonal allergies are crazy here, right? Cedar season twice a year. You get oak pollen. Um, I used to have a cedar problem. I used to have an oak problem. I used to get stuffed up. I couldn't breathe. My eyes, my face would swell up, because the cedar gets so bad. But now that I don't eat dairy as a regular practice and I don't eat wheat as a regular practice, I do on occasions. Like when I'm traveling, vacation, whatever, I celebrate. I enjoy all the foods. I love pizza. Okay. It's not a regular practice of the things that I eat in my daily life. Right. And so I know if I eat pizza, especially garbage pizza, I'm going to wake up the next day and I'm going to be stuffy because my body's having an allergic reaction to the things I shouldn't have been eating. So I'm paying the price. But once again, if you deal with seasonal allergies, especially if you deal things with hives and eczema, psoriasis, uh, get a food allergy panel and avoid those things. If you can't afford a food allergy panel, by the way, there's always the elimination diet. You can look. There's the top 10 are easily searched. The top 10 allergens in the United States. Dairy and wheat number two. You get things like peanuts and soy. You get gluten is not even barely top 10, but just so you know, eggs can be up there, fish can be on there, shellfish can be on there. But anyway, what you do is if you think you might have an intolerance to something, you avoid it for at least 2 or 3 weeks. 3 weeks to be sure, 2 weeks is the minimum. And you don't eat any of it. Make sure there's nothing of it in your diet at all. And then you eat it. Like, let's say it's wheat. Okay. Go 3 weeks, no flour products whatsoever, which is hard to do, sauces, all kinds of stuff, but no flour products whatsoever. Then you eat it. You eat a sandwich. And then how do you feel 30 minutes later? You'll know. You'll
Right.
know. Your stomach will be rumbling. You'll get gassy. You'll be like, I don't feel so good. There's your sign. You know you should not eat such a thing. You build tolerances to it if you eat it every single day. So maybe you get irregular stomach aches. Sometimes your body's resistant to it. Sometimes your body's not resistant to it, but you're eating it all the time. And it's never good for you, but you're eating all the time. So anyway, that's the true way to test. It's called the elimination diet.
Yeah, I tried to eliminate a few things and I could never figure out what they were. So yeah, the panel is going to tell me exactly.
It's a good way
But
to test.
I also noticed though lately, and maybe it's always been around, but the media has made it even more noticeable, and even my friends, they're getting anxiety attacks more often, and I don't know if it's being triggered by something or if it's just their environment.
Um, there are things you can do from a food and supplement perspective that help with anxiety. However, anxiety is an emotional intelligence solution. You don't one, I teach all my clients this, but never claim the state. Okay. Uh, don't say I'm anxious. Okay. Don't say I'm depressed. Don't say I'm angry. Say I'm feeling some anger. Because if you can recognize emotion as just a body of energy that you're experiencing, not that it's who you are or that's what you deal with. So saying I'm anxious means you're going to respond to all situations with anxiety versus saying I feel some anxious about this. Okay, then recognize what is the real fear that you're feeling anxious about. Anxious is a fear of a future state, recognizing something. You would never have anxiety if you'd never experienced trauma. So if you can recognize what trauma gave you that anxiety to begin with, then you can say and reconcile it in the past, right? Forgive it, let it go, accept it. So it's not no longer painful for you. You're not going to envision a future with more of it, so you're not scared of it. So anxiety is always a future state. You're not living in the moment, you're living in the future. You're imagining a future state of something that happened to you in the past happening again, and you're scared of it, right? Whether it's your finances, whether it's your relationships, whether it's your job, your work, your stress, whatever. And so there are really easy, simple ways to deal with anxiety of recognizing, like one of the things that I have had a coaching clients of, I mean, I'm sure you've seen this, but especially with entrepreneurials, sure, I want to say earls every time, with entrepreneurs is that a lot of times we have to publicly speak about our project,
Mhm.
right? Whether it's for investors or we're pitching it to our friends, or we're pitching it to board members, etc. A lot of times, you're going to have anxiety about giving public speaking, and so when I've coached clients about public speaking, I think the easiest thing to do is what is the worst thing that will happen? If you take the worst thing that will happen and you make it okay, then you have no fear going into it. So what's the worst thing that could happen when you go and you get public speaking about it? Nobody invests, right? I mean, what do you imagine when you're a kid? Your pants fall down or you go in naked or something, right? Like, what is the worst thing that could happen? And then just say, it's okay if that happens. Listen, if I go into this investor meeting and nobody gives me any money, because I'll tell you, as an entrepreneur, you have to expect that, right? Like 9 times out of the 10, you're probably going to investor meetings and nobody's going to give you a dime, right? Like maybe 99 times out of 100. I mean, it's one of the hardest things is raising money for work. But you just have to be okay with that. And then you can be more relaxed about giving it. And then you're going to feel more comfortable. You're going to feel more approachable. You're going to be a better communicator when you're giving that. And then you're actually going to increase the likelihood that you'll get money because you have no fear of not getting the money.
Right.
Right? If you go in there with like, I absolutely have to get this, you're going to go in so stressed, so anxious, so fearful that you don't, that you're not going to be a good communicator. You're not going to present yourself well. And you're going to come from a place of fear, which they're going to pick up on. They're going to read it in your body language and your verbal cues. And so be relaxed.
Yeah.
I, and the best way to be relaxed is to take your worst fear and just make it okay, accept it. Most fears are irrational fears anyway, right? Like you're not falling out of a plane without a parachute, right? You didn't just get diagnosed with AIDS or cancer. You're not dying. You're not like none of these things are, those are some real fears. Somebody's kind of running at you with a machete. That's a real fear. Irrational fear is this investor is not going to give me some money. It's an
Hmm.
irrational fear. And so you just need to recognize that what it is and make it okay, be accepting of it. And then you can go in and give that presentation smooth,
Yeah.
clean, relaxed, and actually increase your odds.
I remember as a kid, we would go door to door selling, Boy Scout stuff or school stuff. No fear. Whatever the customer said, no, thank you, whatever. Oh yeah, I'll buy. We just went to the next person. As we get older, we're like, no, no, I can't go door to door. I can't call people. I can't do. Somewhere along the line, we got fear, you know. So we had no fear as a kid. We get a little older, now we have fear. What, why? It's like,
Psychologists will tell you childhood traumas are all of our fears, right?
mhm,
Little things that sometimes we don't even remember that happened to us in our formative years that caused us pain.
mhm.
And I mean, fear, abandonment issues, anger, frustrations, right? I mean, those childhood traumas. And listen, I've spent so many years studying counseling. A lot of times with clients, I have to go back and help them address those childhood traumas. But unlike um, a psychologist often wants you to just talk about the problem so many times that you get numb to the problem. I want to talk to you about it once. I want to understand exactly the trauma, the fear that you experienced, and I want you to help you accept it.
Mhm.
Now, accepting might be forgiving a person, and I get it. Maybe you're angry with that person, you don't want to forgive them, but walking through that, forgive that person exists inside of you so that you can let go of that pain. It could be somebody that's no longer here on this planet, right? It could have been a parent that's no longer here. It could have been a sibling. Could have been your first significant other, right? Like forgiveness is just a powerful spiritual tool to help you deal with emotional traumas. Accepting reality, accepting things that are right. Like, I mean, one of the things that we were talking about, I think even before the video started, was that giving videos. I mean, coaching videos,
Mm.
just doing videos as an entrepreneur is something that really helps you be authentic, relate to people, and all of your insecurities come out. And
Oh yeah, and
I mean,
the first 100 videos you're gonna do are gonna suck. So
yeah,
get over
absolutely.
it. Just
You get
get
over it
over
and
it.
just get them done. I'm quite aware. I talk funny in a way. I grew up in the Northeast a little bit and the East Coast, and so living in Texas, I mean, I got beat up a couple of times as a young guy just because I talked funny compared to Texas country boys, and uh, I got my nose broken one time. And anyway, I carried trauma about that. And so every time I was speaking and then I would listen to my own video, I was like, I hate the way I sound. And I would just do it over again because I think I was going to sound differently if I keep. But no, it was just part of the thing that I had to accept about myself. In fact, I would even put that into my videos because people are going to relate to you when you can share the things about yourself.
Mhm.
And listen, I know I talk differently. I'm okay with that. I have to be okay with that because if I can love that part of myself that I generally don't love, and you can love that part, then then nobody can hurt you with it,
Mhm.
right? Because if somebody comments on the way I make the way that I talk or my receding hairline or like we were talking about our teeth earlier, like
Mhm.
things that we identify of insecurities, if we can be okay with those things, then nobody out there can hurt us with it and we're okay. So Like there was this exercise. I don't remember. There's a famous author that did it. Maybe I'll think of it while we're talking about it. But she would do this exercise of like look in the mirror and your eyes will often go to the part of yourself that you don't like, whether
Hmm.
even emotional or physical or whatever, and just tell yourself, I love that part of myself. I
Hmm.
love my receding hairline. It's okay. Like I love my crooked nose. I love my scars on my face. I love my whatever, right? Take the things that you don't love about yourself and tell yourself it, and that'll help you be okay with those things. And then nobody can ever use them as a weapon against you because you're okay with them.
Hmm.
Yeah, talk funny. It's okay. Life goes on.
Well, you know, it's our impact, our imperfections become our branding,
And
and
that's the way that people relate to you. Absolutely.
right,
Yeah.
and so you know,
Nobody relates to
my
perfect.
sarcastic personality has become my brand, and people are like, "Oh, Rob, you're so funny," and this and that, and I'm like, okay. And the thing is, I tried to hide it for the first, I don't know, dozen years of owning this agency. And then when I wrote the Rob Versus books, which are all sarcastic adventures, people are like, "Wow, Rob, I love it. You know, let's do work together." And they want to be part of what I'm doing now.
Mhm.
You know, and yeah, I'm triggering some people, but for me, it's kind of like that, you know, rejection marketing. I'm already disqualifying all the people who don't want to deal with me, and the people that really want laughter in their life and they love sarcasm. You know, they're coming to me like, "Hey, Rob, here's my wallet. Just take all my credit cards. Just let's do work together." And I'm like, "Okay, it's great." But I think people, like you said, they're hiding behind their imperfections. They're hiding behind the things that make them who they are.
Mhm.
You know, they don't want to share their past. They don't want to share, you know, what they, you and I both are entrepreneurs. We have an origin story, what made us who we are. And most entrepreneurs are afraid to share that.
Mhm.
And I think if you can share the past, it makes a very powerful message to people that you can be unstoppable.
I listen, I did 5 startups. Okay. I only had one that was successful to exit. Okay. But I learned more from the 4 that didn't,
Mm,
right, than I did from the one that did.
right.
You know? And so, like, sure, am I a 4 times failure? Absolutely, I am. Yeah. But I
You know,
learned.
they're not failures, they're life
Yeah, they're
lessons.
not failures. You learned, right? And I think, but that's the thing about people. Like they believe that they're not there yet. Well, you're never there, right?
Right.
Because there's always another place above where you are to be. So you're never there, and those things that got you to where you are what help you identify and be authentic with other people. Same thing with my coaching. I mean, I listen, there was years in my 20s where I was partying and drinking, doing drugs and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And you know, those all psychologically affect my life in lots of different ways and emotionally affected my life in lots of ways. And I can articulate those without, it's not that I, without regret, really. Like, I mean, that's not a like part period of my life where I'm proud of, but at the same time, I can talk about it without regret because that helps other people that might be going through those situations to help identify with me, and I can help relate how I overcame those obstacles,
Right.
right? Like, it's
You
not
know,
the
and
traumas
there's
that
so
happen.
many
It's
people
not the
that,
traumas. It's the
right.
rehab of the traumas where you can be a gift to other people.
Yeah, there's so many people who will not share that life. Hey, I did drugs, I did alcohol, I did all this stuff. And but the thing is, when you embrace that, when you can share with that with somebody, you are helping that one individual that really needs that.
Yep.
You know, it's I think we've gotten these stigmas in life that say, oh, we can't share the negative in our life. Well, that negative stuff is really not a negative if it can help somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a negative if you haven't learned the lesson from it. If you
Mhm.
learned a lesson from it and you dealt with your trauma, right? Like you can be a victim of anything, but if you perceive yourself to be a victim instead of how this is how I overcame this thing that happened to me, then you're still in, you know, you haven't learned the lesson, right?
Mhm.
And the lesson might not be for you. The lesson might be forgiveness. The lesson might be acceptance. The lesson might be how to overcome it emotionally. But yeah, if you look back on those periods in your life and they're still painful, you haven't fully learned the lesson. You haven't accepted. You haven't forgiven. You haven't moved on, because that's the lesson, is learning. Like, if you want to be patient, right? You're not just born patient, right?
Yeah.
It's not patient. It's patience is not a gift. You have to have all these moments of where you have anxiety and stress and things of where you're forced to wait to get the thing that you want. That is how you learn patience. You don't learn peace even, right? You have to go through all these moments of turmoil to reconcile those moments of turmoil to learn what real peace is, right? If you pray to be strong mind and willed, okay, right? God doesn't say magically, here you go, you're strong mind and willed. No, I'm going to put you in difficult situations where you have to use strong mind and will to overcome said situations,
Mhm.
right? That's how you learn these things. Like, if you want somebody that is strong, but peace at heart, patient, right? They're going to have to get a very difficult life to get there. And
Yeah.
if they don't learn the lessons, they never get there, right? But if you learn the lessons, that's how you get there.
And it was funny the other day, I realized that some of the skills that I learned in high school, we're going back 30 some years, culminated in one lesson that I taught a client. And I thought, wow, you know, I would have never, had I really thought about it, I would have never taken that class to begin with, but I did. And maybe I didn't really benefit from it for the last 30 years. But at that moment, everything that I learned in that class came back for me to help that client. And they were like very, very happy. And I was like, where'd that come from? It was just, that moment, those skill set came in, it kicked in and
Yeah, it absolutely, and so you never know when it's going to kick in. And I would say this is true. The flip of that coin though is, if you haven't learned the lesson, you're going to teach other people the wrong lesson.
Mhm.
Like, if you haven't, if you're going to steer people away from doing entrepreneurial things. If you had a failed entrepreneurial experiment and you're still rearing about it and angry about it and frustrated about it, you're going to steer people in possibly a negative way, because you haven't learned the lesson, which is like, what did I learn from that experience? How did I grow from that experience, and not look at it in a traumatic way? It can be inverse. People can give you bad advice from trauma that they've had, instead of good advice from trauma they've overcome.
Well,
So
here's a situation that happened to me. I had a business that I had a partner with back in 1999, 2000. I learned the lesson. The business failed. The partner went off, and I haven't really talked to him for a long time, but I ran into him a couple weeks ago, and he's still pissed off at me for the business that failed over 25 years ago. And I'm like, I moved on and I've created other businesses and done other things.
yeah.
Dude, stop being
Perfect
mad.
example. Yeah, perfect example. And look, some people hold on to that stuff their whole lives, and it has nothing to do with you. It's their internal anger, right? Like, and that's a perfect example of the lesson that was never learned.
Yeah. It's like, dude, you can't harbor that anger for all those years. You just,
They probably never trusted other people. They probably never went into business with other people. They were probably so sore about it that it kept them from having success in so many other areas of their life, because they kept dealing with that trauma instead of
yeah.
learning the lesson from the
And
trauma.
this is one of the reasons I write so many books. I mean, I've produced 43 books over 11 years. Some of them are for clients, some of them are for mine. But writing those books, sharing those stories, sharing those my knowledge and my experiences in those books also is my therapy.
Yeah.
You know, I enjoy writing those books as much as I do sharing those lessons with people. And it
We
just
should
reinforces in me, I just got to wake up every single day and give it my best.
Yeah.
And
Well, we should have a separate call about that, because my book I wrote was painful to me. Like, I enjoyed at first, especially writing down the stories I wanted to communicate, right? And teaching in that way. But when I got to the editing part, oh man, rereading my own material was like stabbing myself over and over and over again, trying
Well,
to
here's
make
the
it.
thing is that
Oh,
every single one of my books probably has mistakes in it.
yeah,
That there's even my last one. I mean, the last one I wrote was unscripted, unfiltered, unwoo-woo, and unguru, and I partnered with Steve Gamlin, who's been on my eHeroes program for. He was on 7 episodes over a 5-year period,
yeah,
and after that last episode, I thought, man, this is good stuff. Let's put it into a book form, and it'll show the evolution of two guys, all their entrepreneurial problems. And it was like, if you read it, it's like you're sitting on a porch just listening to these guys discuss, how they became better entrepreneurs.
yeah.
And people are liking the book. They're really, and I'll send you a copy. But it was the fact is that it's not a normal book. It's a transcript book, but people love it because it's just not normal. You know, they can pick it up, put it down. They can. It's just very easy to read. And you know, it's not one of those shiny objects things that these gurus are trying to push on you. It's like anti-gurus. And it's just, it's one of those legacy pieces that I want to just leave behind so that that more entrepreneurs can learn from.
It's a good way to do it. I like it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just that's probably the way I should have done it. Plus, I was writing a book with somebody else, and I find that added complication to it. So obviously you've got a formula. Maybe I need to learn that from you.
Well, it's every book that I produce is a little different, but in my head, I have a system in place because, I had to learn all the problems developing when I put out my first book, and all I tried to shop it around.
Mhm.
Everybody wanted these thick, complicated, technical books, and I just wanted this very simple social media book that taught people lessons, and it's only like 120 pages, you know, and
Yep.
and everybody rejected me, so I said, screw it. Created
We'll
my
do it.
own publishing company, put it out there, and sold thousands of copies right away. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. So, it's out of frustration, opportunity is born.
Yeah.
So, I look at things differently than others, and I see that, hey, okay, maybe I'm frustrated today. What's the opportunity that's going to come from it?
Yep. That's the entrepreneurial mind.
Yeah. So where do
Yeah.
where do people find you? Where can they go?
Yeah, social media is probably the easiest way to find me. I can give you, I can post my Calendly link, but it's at Christopher VanBerg across almost every social media platform. I post some coaching videos sometimes on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. So you can reach me across my social media channels at Christopher VanBerg.
That's awesome. So everybody, please support Christopher. Go to his socials, follow him, like him, ask a lot of questions and become a client.
Yeah, I love to coach clients. It doesn't matter if you're entrepreneurial help, if you need help fitness, workout, nutrition advice. I'm a disease reversal nutritionist. I love to help people get better. Emotional counselor, and one of my favorite things that I love to do is also help you coach in your business. If you're an entrepreneur and you're struggling, doesn't matter if it's in your physical part of your entrepreneurial world or your business part of it. I would love to help you.
There you go. That's what makes him an e-hero. So we'll see you guys on the next episode. Adios.